Yeah, that's normal. Okay, so the Civic has had a few issues during startup, and I'm going to take a look at that today. So hopefully we can get it sorted. Alright, what's up guys? I'm Jay, this is Project GoodSpeed, and on today's video, I've noticed that the Civic has been taking a little extra long to start sometimes.
Now, here's the thing about the little hatchback. She's never let me down. It does that. It's alright, it does that. It does that too. Come on. There she goes. Third time's a charm. I fucking knew it. I had no doubt.
Over the past couple months, I've noticed that it doesn't start on the first try. Now, I installed a push start, so it's essentially just a one push, and it should start right away.
Turn it on.
Nice. But lately I've noticed that sometimes it takes two starts. It's a little bit annoying sometimes. Now, if you've got a turnkey, right, it's not a big deal, right? You just hold it for like 1 or 2 seconds more. But for me, I have to disarm and unlock the system every time I go to push that button, and it's a little annoying. Now, the first thing I thought is maybe my battery's going bad, right? However, like I said, it's been going on for a couple months, so if that was the case, I'd expect the battery would have gone bad by now, but it hasn't. So I moved on to checking the terminals. This is the positive one, and this one doesn't look too bad, but this is the negative right here, the ground, and this is fully tightened right there. Literally, it just comes right off. That is not what's supposed to happen. Now, I've actually tightened it as much as I can. There's even a spacer in between this one because the kit from Amazon is supposed to take this into account, but even with the little spacer, as tight as it goes, and I can't really do anything about that. So I'm actually gonna be changing these out for an OEM positive one and a replacement kit for the negative one. And if you might notice, there's actually no battery tie down, right? So as long as the hood's closed, it's not going anywhere, right? I mean, that's what I've thought so far, but you never know. So I'm actually just gonna be adding some battery tie downs that I never had, and I picked those up at the junkyard, and I also picked the positive one, and it's just a cable with 2 connections, right? One to this fuse box and then one to the starter, and I'm just gonna replace that. I picked that one up at the junkyard as well. The negative one I found on a website, and I'll put that on the description below. Because I've got a fuse here for my sub and my amplifier kit, I actually have to remove that because the battery tie down is supposed to go right in the middle here. So I'm gonna have to relocate this just a little bit. I think I'm probably gonna raise it up or just move it this way. I don't know yet. Now, the starting issue could be any number of things, right? It could have been the battery, could have been the starter, but online I also saw that it could be your grounds, right? And they're just located at different sections in your car. In my Civic, there's this engine ground here, and then there's this transmission ground here. And there is also a ground inside the driver's side floor, which is kind of like right by the seat, and you gotta rip up the carpet to get to it. And I gotta say that I've actually had to do that, and I just cleaned it up a little bit, but I reinstalled the old ground. So I'm gonna also change these out because it could be that these grounds have just gotten so old and corroded that it's affecting the connection. So it doesn't hurt to change them, especially because they're so easily accessible. Now, here are the cables that I'm gonna be replacing. This is the OEM Plus, right, which I just found at the junkyard. I just picked it up and then I cleaned it up here, made sure I got all the gunk and buildup out of the way, replaced the tape, cleaned it up a little, so now you get that shiny red, and it was from an OEM Civic, right? So it should be a perfect fit. This, however, this is a ground kit that I picked up from Carrot Top Tuning, and it comes with the battery terminal and 3 grounds for your chassis. And I think it's for B, D, and H series. I'm not sure. It's definitely B and D series. So this is the battery tie down that I picked up from the junkyard, and it's just hooks up from the bottom onto the tray and then I just got lock nuts up here, and it should be pretty simple to install. Now, because I've owned this Civic for years, right? I've replaced a lot of parts on it. I know what has been replaced and what hasn't. And I know for a fact that I have never replaced my starter. Among other things, that's one of the things that I know I'm a little less confident about it just because I've never replaced it, so I know that it's not a new one. However, it hasn't given me any issues, but just to be a little proactive, I actually picked one up, right? I've got one right here. This is the starter for my Civic, and if I'm being honest, I've had this for a while just because I know, like I said, I haven't replaced it, and I think it was on sale when I bought it. So I've just been waiting on it, just been chilling here, and hopefully it would just sit here, right? And I wouldn't actually need it. But since I'm gonna be replacing these grounds, and since I don't know if the grounds are the issue, right? I might as well just replace the starter along with it. What was that? God, I hate working on this fucking battery stuff. So when I went to go remove the fuse from my amplifier, it kind of broke apart in my hand, and now I have to put it back together. How does this even happen? Oh, come on. So I'm just gonna use some JB Weld and weld the plastic back together. Hopefully it holds long enough for me to just put it back in there. In the meantime, however, I think I'm gonna just go ahead and disconnect some of these clips just to make getting to the starter a little bit better, because you guys can see it's a little hidden. All that wire loom looks disgusting and messy, and my hands are just gonna get all dirty trying to clean all that up. So might as well just do it now before I install the starter. I mean, look at this. It's just breaking apart. How does it even get like this? And can I fix it? I don't know. I don't know, but I'm gonna try. Look at this clamp. How does it supposed to? Oh man, I don't even know. Is it warped or is it supposed to look like it? It looks really freaking bent. Yo, all right, so I started disconnecting the clip. So you guys see, I took the ground off from the thermostat here. I unplugged the thermostat clip right here. Then I went to go remove this from the starter. And what the heck is this? It's supposed to go right here, but there's just tape over it. And oh my God, look at that. Maybe that could have been the issue with the slow start and not my grounds. This would make a lot more sense. So just put it back together, clamped it back down. Should be a lot easier to get out now, but I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up because this is giving me a headache just looking at all this mess here. It probably won't stay clean for long, but it can't hurt. Oh man, that's tough. Here's the old one. The new one definitely looks better, but it doesn't have this little clamp. I don't know if this is stock new or, stock old or a replacement part, but it technically didn't give out on me. But I'm just being a little bit proactive and just gonna be replacing it anyway. Just transfer the little clamp over. And I did notice that this thing is a little loose. It doesn't really quite cap over the connection here. This one's freaking solid though, look. Just closes right over the way it's supposed to. This one, can't really fix that though. So we're just gonna throw it back in there, fuck it. Okay, now basically replacing the starter, not that hard really. 2 bolts, once it's out, easy to put back in. It took me forever because I couldn't just leave the wiring mess that I had going on here alone. I had to clean it up, and I did as best as I could by cleaning it up with degreaser and then taping up everything I could to protect the wires from inside, and that basically took the longest. And also, I broke my freaking fuse for my subwoofer, so I had to wait to let that cure before I can put it back in there. I mean, even still, the connection for my battery is gonna require me to remove the fuse if I ever want to pull the battery out, right? Because I cannot get to that bolt. But it came out pretty nice, right? I got all new freaking grounds. This one is definitely a lot sturdier, as you guys can tell. The other one moved. This one's not even fully tightened yet, but it's already got just enough grip. I don't have to worry about that. And I do like this OEM little one that I managed to pull from the junkyard. However, I had to cut it, right? Because I can't fit my subwoofer connection on there. I mean, not the subwoofer. It's an amplifier, you idiot. My amplifier needs to be connected to the battery, and I really couldn't do anything about that, so it's just gonna stay like that. I do want to say that on the website, it just said that there was a ground kit, right? And these are the OEM ones, I think. These are definitely a lot sturdier, and I would trust these a lot more if I knew a little bit more about what kind of grounds I specifically need. But for the meantime, I think these are good enough. I started it twice, and it's pretty quick, I'm not gonna lie. You guys ready? Here it goes. Boom. Ready to go. It does that. I mean, there's like no cranking time. It's just like pretty much instant. Let's go. Now, I do like the way they look. They definitely protect the wires. As if you guys noticed before, my wires were pretty much exposed. And I would recommend definitely making sure you have it connecting to the chassis and not your paint, right? So I had to sand down some areas, and I think I've already taken care of this before when I thought I had a grounding problem. So essentially a few months back, I kind of checked all my grounds and kind of sanded it down, used some sandpaper and some wire brush to make sure I had full contact with the chassis and not the paint. On this one specifically, I replaced a new bolt there. I freaking knew that wasn't normal. My corner light's hella loose. I was like, nah, it's supposed to be like that. It's a Honda, it's perfectly normal. I think it looks a lot cleaner now. Even though from this area, you probably won't even notice. It doesn't really look all that different. But that's what we strive for here, man, you know? It's OEM plus, not a whole new freaking thing, right? But yeah, I think that's gonna be it for this video, guys. I replaced the grounds. Battery's good, cleaned it up a little bit. I now have battery tie downs, so the battery shouldn't go anywhere. Not that it did or has in the last 10 years, because I never used that before. New battery terminals, new wire connectors that go to the starter and the ground on this one, for instance. But yeah, oh, and the new starter, obviously, you can't forget that. You know, I had that one for a while, so I don't even freaking notice it, because it's like I've always had it, I just never installed it. Basically, getting to the starter is really easy. If you just unplug these cables, and that's all it is. And if you had these clamps here, like I did, although mine was bent and crooked and not even connected, but I fixed that now. It actually is bolted down where it belongs. All you gotta do is just remove that, and then there's just these two bolts, and it comes out pretty quick. Hopefully you guys don't have such a mess like I did. That's gonna be it for this video. If you guys don't mind now, I'm gonna take off, and I gotta clean this little thing because it is pretty dusty. So that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Take care, and until next time, Goodspeed.